You take the job because it pays more than anything else you can find. No interview, no references, just a message with a start time, a location, and one line at the bottom. Complete all assigned areas. Do not attempt to verify completion. There's nothing else. No company name, no contact number. You accept it anyway. The address leads you to an industrial area you don't recognize. Long concrete buildings with no signage. No lights in the windows. Nothing that suggests anyone is working inside. The place looks closed. There's a single service door set into the wall. No label, no keypad, just a handle. It's already unlocked. You check your phone. No signal. You consider leaving, but there's no reason to. The job is simple. You're already here. You open the door and step inside. The corridor beyond it is narrow, lined with fluorescent lights running in a straight line overhead. The air is dry, carrying a faint smell of dust that hasn't been disturbed in a long time. The door closes behind you without sound. You wait. No one comes. No instructions. No supervisor. No sign that anyone knows you're here. Just the corridor. You start walking. Your footsteps are quiet, absorbed quickly by the floor. The walls are plain, a dull yellow color that doesn't reflect much light. There are no doors along the sides, no markings. Nothing that tells you where you are. After a minute, you check your phone again. Still no signal. You keep going. The corridor extends longer than it should. You expect it to open into something, an office, a storage area, anything, but it doesn't. It just continues. Then, without transition, it widens. Not into a room, just more space. Same walls, same lighting, no clear boundary between one area and the next. You stop and listen. There's nothing. No background noise, no distant movement, no airflow. The silence isn't complete. It's controlled. You turn slightly and look back. The corridor behind you looks exactly like the one ahead. Same length, same lighting, no difference. You stand there for a moment, trying to place where you came from. There's nothing to fix it in place. You move again. A cleaning cart is positioned against the wall ahead, fully stocked. Mop, bucket, cloths, everything arranged neatly, like someone set it up for you before you arrived. You approach it. There's a clipboard resting on top. You pick it up. Clean assigned areas. Do not leave equipment unattended. Complete shift. That's all. No map. No layout. No way to tell where anything is. You look around again. The space doesn't organize itself. It doesn't guide you anywhere. It just continues. You set the clipboard down and place your hands on the cart handle. The metal is cold. Steady. Something solid. In a place that isn't. You start pushing it forward. The wheels move smoothly, the sound consistent against the floor. After a few steps, something shifts. Not in front of you. Behind you. You stop. You don't hear anything. You don't see anything. But you know the door isn't there anymore. You don't turn to check. You already understand something you didn't when you walked in. There isn't a way to confirm anything here. Not the layout. Not the distance. Not even where you started. And as you keep moving forward, that line from the message settles in differently. Do not attempt to verify completion. It doesn't read like a warning anymore. It reads like a limitation. Because if you can't verify where you've been, you won't be able to prove you're still moving at all. You keep moving because the cart gives you direction. The wheels stay steady, the sound consistent, something you can measure against. It helps more than the space does. The hallway doesn't offer anything useful. No signs, no variation, nothing that suggests where one area ends and another begins. So you create your own system. Straight lines first, minimal turns. You track distance by counting steps, not perfectly, just enough to keep a rough sense of movement. It works for a while. You pass intersections, mark them mentally, and continue forward. Then the timing stops making sense. You reach an opening that looks familiar. Not exactly the same, but close enough that you slow down. The wall has a faint scuff at shoulder height. You remember noticing it earlier. You're sure you passed it already. You check your count. The number is too low. You shouldn't be back here yet. You keep walking. The hallway continues, then opens slightly again. The space ahead widens just enough to break the pattern. You guide the cart into it and stop. The floor here looks untouched. No marks, no debris, nothing that suggests it's been cleaned recently. You start working. moving slowly across the surface, covering the area in even strokes. It takes time. When you finish, you step back and look at it. Clean. Uniform. You move on. You take 2 turns, both deliberate. One left, one right. You count your steps again, keeping track of the distance between each turn. The numbers stay consistent. The pace doesn't change. Then you enter the same space again. You stop immediately. The floor still looks damp where you cleaned it. The streak near the edge hasn't fully dried. The reflection under the light is exactly where it should be. You look behind you. The hallway doesn't match what you remember. The distance is shorter. You walk back a few steps, then forward again, testing it. The space doesn't shift, but your sense of it does. It feels like the path between points isn't fixed. Like the distance adjusts depending on how you move through it. You push the cart out of the room again, slower this time. You stop counting steps. You switch to time instead. You check your watch and start walking in a straight line, keeping your pace steady. 1 minute passes, then another. At the 2-minute mark, you stop. You turn around. The distance behind you doesn't match 2 minutes of walking. It's closer. You look forward again. The space ahead stretches further than it should. You stand still, trying to reconcile it. Distance isn't consistent. Time isn't reliable. You try something else. You pick a direction and walk without turning, focusing only on the forward path. No hesitation, no adjustment, just movement. The hallway continues. No intersections. No openings. Just the same space extending ahead. You keep walking. After a while, you check your watch again. It hasn't changed. The time is the same as when you last looked. You stop. You tap the screen, expecting it to update. It doesn't. You lower your hand slowly and look around. The hallway remains unchanged. Same walls, same lighting, same empty space. You listen for anything that might give you a reference point. There's nothing. No distant noise. No airflow. No indication of anything beyond what you can see. You turn slightly, looking back the way you came. The distance feels shorter again. Not enough to measure. Just enough to notice. You take a step backward. Then another. The space adjusts with you not visibly, but in a way that makes it impossible to confirm how far you've moved. You stop and grip the cart handle tighter. The metal feels solid. Unchanged. Something consistent. Everything else isn't. You start moving again, slower now. You don't try to map the layout anymore. You don't track distance. You don't rely on time. None of it holds. The hallways don't connect in a way you can follow. They don't preserve where you've been. They don't lead anywhere you can confirm. They just continue. And the only thing that moves through them in a consistent way is you. You stop trying to understand the layout. Not completely, but enough that you don't rely on it anymore. The cart becomes your only reference point. Where it is, where it's been, what you've used. That's easier to track than anything around you. You pull into a corner where the lighting dips slightly. Not darker, just less consistent. It gives you a reason to stop. You check your supplies. Bucket, half full. Mop, damp. Cloths, still in place. Then your hand catches on something under the handle. A slight resistance, like tape pulling against your grip. You shift the cart and look underneath. There's a folded sheet of paper, pressed flat against the metal bar, secured with 2 strips of clear tape. It's placed carefully, not hidden, but positioned where you wouldn't notice it unless you adjusted your hold. You peel one side loose and take it out. The paper is plain, no logo, no header beyond a single line at the top. Maintenance compliance. Below it are 6 numbered lines. Short, direct, no explanation. You read the first one. It doesn't sound like a cleaning instruction. You read it again. The wording is simple, but it assumes something you haven't seen yet. Not a suggestion, not a warning, just a condition, stated like it's already understood. You move to the second. That one feels closer to something practical, but only slightly. It references a situation without explaining how you'd recognize it, like you're expected to know it when it happens. The third line is more specific, too specific. It describes a change in the environment that doesn't match anything you've seen so far. You pause, then continue. By the time you reach the 6th, the pattern is clear. None of these are about cleaning. They don't relate to the tasks on the clipboard. They don't explain the layout. They don't help you complete anything. They just define situations. and tell you what not to do when they happen. You lower the paper and look around. The hallway hasn't changed. Same walls, same lighting, same empty space. There's nothing in front of you that matches anything you just read. For a moment, you assume it's outdated. Something left by another worker. Maybe a list someone made to stay focused during long shifts. That would make sense. You turn the paper over. Blank. No name, no date, no indication of when it was written or who wrote it. You look back at the clipboard. The tone is different. The clipboard is basic, generic, task-focused. This isn't. This is deliberate. Each line is structured the same way. Same length, same clarity, no extra words. You fold the paper halfway, then stop. You read one of the lines again. Slower this time. The wording doesn't change, but the way it reads does. Not because it's unclear, because it assumes the situation already exists, like it's describing something that happens regularly. You glance down the hallway again. Still nothing, but now you're aware of what you're looking for. You slide the paper back under the handle, pressing the tape down again. Then you pause. You pull it back out. There's no reason to leave it there. If someone placed it deliberately, it wasn't meant to stay hidden. You fold it properly this time and put it in your pocket. The sound of the paper settling feels louder than it should. You rest your hand against it for a moment. Then you pick up the handle again and start moving. The cart rolls forward, steady as before. The hallway ahead looks the same, but now, every section you pass feels like it might match something on that list. You don't check the paper again. Not yet. You just keep walking, scanning the space in a different way. Not for areas to clean, for condition. And after a few minutes, you realize something else. The paper wasn't placed at the entrance. It wasn't given to you before you started. It was positioned where you would find it after the layout stopped making sense. Not before. Right after. Like whoever left it knew exactly when you'd need it. You don't take the paper out again right away. You keep it in your pocket and continue working, letting the routine take over. It's easier to focus on what you can control. The cart moves steadily. The floor gives you small, manageable tasks. That part still makes sense. The sound starts without warning. At first, you think it's the wheels. A slight variation in the rhythm, something just under the normal noise. Then you stop. The cart stops with you. The sound doesn't. You stay still, listening. It's faint, layered, not coming from a single direction. It spreads through the space in a way that doesn't match distance. Not closer, not farther. Just present. It sounds like voices. Not clear enough to understand, but structured enough that you recognize it immediately. Conversation patterns, pauses, overlapping tones. You look down the hallway. Nothing. No movement, no figures, no indication that anyone else is there. You take a few steps forward. The sound shifts. Not louder, not closer, just repositioned. You stop again. It stays consistent. You turn slightly, checking behind you. Same empty corridor. The voices don't follow your line of sight. They stay just outside of it. You start moving again, slower this time. The sound adjusts with you. It doesn't lead you anywhere specific. It just stays ahead. You tell yourself it's structural. Air moving through vents, sound carrying through sections you can't see. That explanation holds for a moment. Then one of the voices separates. Just slightly. Enough to stand out from the rest. You stop immediately. The rest of the sound continues, but that one thread becomes clearer for a second. Not enough to identify the voice, just enough to recognize that it's distinct. You listen carefully. The word doesn't repeat. The sound blends back together, losing definition. You wait. Nothing changes. You move again. The voices shift. Still ahead. Still out of reach. You keep your pace steady, focusing on the floor instead of the sound. Small marks, faint streaks. Anything that gives you a reason to stop and work. It almost works. Then the pattern changes. The voices appear closer. Not louder, just more defined. You slow down. The sound adjusts again, moving just far enough away to stay out of focus. You stop. It stops moving. You take a step forward. It shifts again. That's when you notice it. You've been adjusting your movement based on it. Not intentionally. Just enough that it's influencing where you go. You reach into your pocket and take out the paper. You unfold it and scan the lines until you find the first one. Do not follow distant conversations. You read it once, then again. The wording is exact. Not ignore. Not avoid. Follow. You lower the paper slightly and listen again. The voices are still there. Same distance. Same pattern. You think back to how you've been moving. The slight adjustments. The way you slowed down. The way you stepped forward when it shifted. You hadn't noticed it happening. Now you do. You fold the paper and put it back in your pocket. Then you place both hands on the cart handle and start walking again. This time, you don't react. You don't turn your head. You don't adjust your pace. You move in a straight line, ignoring the sound completely. The voices continue. They shift position. They stay ahead. But you don't follow. After a while, the pattern breaks. The sound fades. Not gradually. It just stops. You keep walking. The hallway remains unchanged. But something feels different. Not in the space. In the way you're moving through it. The rule didn't explain the sound. It didn't tell you what it was. It only described the behavior you needed to avoid, which means the sound existed before you understood it, before you noticed it, before you had a reason to question it. And now that you've identified it, the absence feels more controlled than the presence did. You keep moving after the voices stop. The silence returns quickly, filling the space in a way that feels deliberate. Without the sound, your movement becomes easier to control. The cart stays centered. Your pace remains steady. You focus on the floor again, looking for anything that gives you a reason to stop. You find a section with faint marks. Not heavy, just enough to justify cleaning. You guide the cart into the space and set the bucket down. The lighting here is consistent. No flicker, no variation. It feels stable compared to everything else. You start working. Slow, even strokes. You cover the entire area carefully, making sure nothing is missed. The pattern is familiar, controlled. It gives you something predictable to follow. When you finish, you step back and look at the floor. Clean. Uniform. You wait a few seconds for it to settle, then move on. You take a right turn. Then another. Both deliberate. You don't try to map them just enough to create distance from where you started. The hallway ahead looks the same as before. You keep walking. After a short distance, the space opens slightly. You enter it without thinking. Then you stop. The layout is familiar, not just similar. Exact. You look down. The floor still shows faint dampness where you cleaned it. The edges haven't fully dried. The reflection under the light matches what you remember. You take a step forward. The streak near the wall is in the same place. Same angle. Same length. You turn slowly and look behind you. The hallway doesn't match your path. The angle feels different. The distance shorter. You walk back a few steps. Then forward again. The room doesn't change. You're in the same place. You know it. You don't need to check anything else. You already cleaned this section. You stand still, letting the cart settle beside you. Nothing moves. No sound, no shift in the environment. Just the same room, unchanged. You try to reconstruct your route. You remember turning, but not enough to return here. Not this quickly. You didn't loop. There wasn't enough distance. You look at the floor again, then at the walls, then back at the entrance. Everything matches. There's no variation, no difference that suggests this is a copy. It's not a similar space. It's the same one. You feel the realization settle slowly, not sudden, just steady. The layout doesn't preserve direction. It doesn't track where you've been. You take a step toward the center of the room. Something feels off. Not the space. The position. You look down at the floor again. The damp area is slightly smaller than before. The edges have pulled in. That makes sense. Time passed. You move toward the far side, checking the corner. There's a faint mark you remember missing the first time. You stop. You're sure you didn't miss anything. You go back to where you started cleaning. The surface is still uniform. No gaps. No missed sections. You return to the corner. The mark is still there. But it's different. Lighter than it should be. Like it's been partially cleaned. You didn't do that. You step back slowly. The room hasn't reset. It's been altered. Not fully. Just enough to break the exact match. You grip the cart handle again, tighter this time. The metal feels steady. Unchanged. You look around one more time. Everything else remains the same. Same layout, same lighting, same proportions. Just that one detail. You don't clean it. You don't try to correct it. You push the cart toward the exit instead. You leave the room without finishing it again. Not because you're sure that's the right decision, but because repeating the task feels like it would confirm something you don't want to accept. As you move back into the hallway, you don't try to track your path. You don't count turns. You don't measure distance. You just keep moving. And now, the problem isn't just that the space repeats. It's that it doesn't repeat perfectly, which means something else is affecting it. Something that changes it between the times you see it. And that change didn't come from you. You don't slow down after that. You keep moving, even though the routine doesn't feel reliable anymore. The work still fills time, but it doesn't feel like progress. Every section you finish looks like something you've already seen, and now you're not sure if you're cleaning new areas or repeating parts of something unfinished. You check the cart again, not for supplies, just to confirm it's still yours. Bucket, half full, water slightly cloudy, cloths in place, mop where you left it. Everything matches. You move forward. The hallway stays consistent for a while. No voices, no flickering, no obvious changes, just the same space extending ahead. Then you see it. A mop bucket, placed in the middle of the corridor. You stop immediately. It's positioned slightly off-center, angled toward the wall. The handle is upright. The water inside is darker than yours, almost opaque. You look back at your cart. Your bucket is still there. Same level, same color, same position. You turn your attention forward again. The second bucket hasn't moved. You walk toward it slowly. The space around it remains empty. No sound, no movement, nothing that suggests anyone is nearby. You stop a few steps away. The surface of the water inside the bucket isn't still. There's a faint ripple, not strong, just enough to suggest it was disturbed recently. You watch it. It doesn't settle. The movement continues at a constant level, like something just beneath the surface is keeping it active. You don't move closer. You look down the hallway instead. Nothing. No footsteps. No shadows. No sign of anything passing through. You shift your focus to the floor around the bucket. It's damp. Not evenly. The streaks overlap in different directions, crossing each other without any clear pattern. It doesn't match your method. You clean in straight lines. This looks inconsistent. You step slightly to the side, adjusting your angle. That's when you notice something else. A cloth, resting against the wall, partially folded, damp. You're sure it wasn't there when you first looked. The placement is too obvious to miss. You check your cart again. All your cloths are still there. You look back at the bucket. The ripple continues. You don't need to check anything else. This isn't yours. You feel the shift in your thinking happen before you fully process it. Up until now, everything had an explanation you could stretch to fit. Layout inconsistencies, sound distortion, repetition. This doesn't fit. This is physical. Something placed this here. You consider approaching it, moving it, bringing it back to your cart, combining the supplies so everything is accounted for. The idea feels wrong, not because of anything specific. Just a hesitation you can't explain. You reach into your pocket and take out the paper. You unfold it and scan quickly. Your eyes stop on the line you remember. If you see cleaning equipment you don't remember using, leave immediately. The wording is unchanged. You read it once, then again. You don't question it. You fold the paper and put it back. Then you take a step back. The bucket doesn't move. The ripple continues. You don't look at it again. You turn the cart around and start walking in the opposite direction. You don't rush, but you don't slow down either. The wheels roll steadily as you move away. You keep your eyes forward. The hallway ahead looks the same as every other one, but something has changed. Not in the environment, in your understanding of it. You're not the only one working here. And whatever else is, it doesn't follow your pattern. It doesn't need to be seen. It leaves results instead. You keep moving. The cart stays steady. The routine continues. But now, every section you pass feels like it might already belong to something else. You keep moving, but you stop treating the rules as guidance. They don't tell you what to do. They tell you what not to do. That difference matters now. The hallway remains stable for a while, No voices, no visible changes, nothing that forces a decision. You focus on the cart, on the floor, on anything that keeps your movement consistent. Then the lights begin to flicker. It starts in front of you. A brief drop in brightness, then a return. You slow down, watching the pattern. It doesn't stabilize. The flicker spreads across the ceiling in uneven sections, moving toward you. You stop. The fourth rule comes back immediately. If lights flicker, stop moving. You keep both hands on the cart handle and stay where you are. The wheels settle. The sound disappears. The flickering continues. You wait. Then you notice where you're standing. There's an opening to your right. You didn't register it before. You turn your head slightly. The space inside is familiar. The proportions, the lighting, the layout. You've been there. You know it immediately. It's the same room. The one you entered twice. The one that didn't repeat exactly. You don't step inside. You stay at the edge, just outside the threshold. The lights continue to flicker above you. You look forward again. The hallway ahead is unstable. The flicker hasn't reached you yet, but it's close. You consider stepping back, but that would break the rule. You stay still. Then you remember something else. Avoid rooms that repeat. You look at the opening again. There's no doubt. It's the same room. You're positioned right at the entrance. Close enough that stepping forward would take you inside. Close enough that staying where you are might already count. You don't know. That's the problem. You check behind you. The flickering has reached that direction too. The light above you drops slightly, then returns. Now both directions are unstable. Forward leads into flickering. Backward leads into flickering. To your right is the repeated room. There's no option that doesn't conflict with something. You stay where you are. The cart remains still. The handle feels colder than before, though that might just be your grip tightening. You keep your eyes forward. You don't look into the room again. You don't turn around. You wait. The flickering continues longer than before. Not seconds. Longer. The intervals stretch out, then shorten again. Unpredictable. The longer it lasts, the more the space around you feels compressed. Not physically, just closer. Like the distance between you and the walls has reduced slightly. You adjust your stance, shifting your weight without moving your position. The cart stays in place. The hallway remains empty. No sound, no movement, just the flickering light. Then, slowly, it begins to stabilize. The far end settles first. Then the section ahead of you. Finally, the light above you returns to normal. You don't move immediately. You wait a few seconds longer. Then you take a step back. Slow, controlled. Nothing reacts. You take another step. The space behind you looks stable again. You increase the distance between you and the room without turning your back on it. After a few steps, you stop. You look at the opening one more time. The room is still there, unchanged. But something about it feels different. Not in the layout, in how it connects to the space around it. You grip the cart again and turn slightly, choosing a path that takes you away from it. The wheels begin moving again. The sound returns. Steady. You don't look back. As you move forward, the realization settles in. The rules aren't independent. They overlap. And when they do, there isn't always a correct action. Just outcomes you can't predict. You keep your pace steady, not because you're confident, but because hesitation doesn't give you an answer. It just leaves you in between two conditions that can't both be followed. And the space seems designed for that. You keep moving, but you stop thinking in terms of direction. Forward doesn't mean anything anymore. It's just movement. The hallway remains stable at first. The lighting holds, the walls don't shift, and the floor looks consistent. You push the cart at the same steady pace, focusing on the motion instead of the space. Then, the voices return. This time, they don't build gradually. They're already there. Behind you. Low, layered, structured enough to recognize as conversation. You don't turn. You don't slow down. You keep moving forward. The sound holds for a few seconds. Then it disappears. Not fading, just gone. You continue walking. A few seconds later, the voices appear again. Ahead of you. Same tone, same distance, same pattern. You stop. The sound stops with you. You take a step forward. It shifts further ahead. You take another step. It adjusts again. You don't need to test it further. It's not random. It's aligning with your movement. You keep walking, ignoring it. The voices stay ahead for a moment, then reposition to your left, exactly where the next opening is. You slow down, not intentionally, just enough that the shift becomes noticeable. The sound doesn't move. It waits. You look at the opening, then forward again. You choose forward. The voices disappear immediately. You continue. The hallway remains consistent. No flickering, no visible changes. Then you notice the floor. A narrow stretch ahead reflects slightly more light. Damp. You remember the rule. Never clean a wet floor that was dry. You don't remember this section being wet. You slow down, observing it. The edges are uneven. No visible source. You step slightly to the side. The reflection remains in front of you. You step back. It stays aligned with your path. You turn right. The hallway continues for a few steps. Then the same reflection appears ahead again. Not identical, but close enough. You stop. You look behind you. The floor there is dry. You look forward again. The damp section remains. You don't need to check it closely. You already understand. Avoiding it doesn't remove it. It reposition. You grip the cart handle tighter. You step forward this time. The damp section remains for a moment. Then disappears. Not visibly. Just no longer present where you step. The floor beneath you is dry. You don't stop. You keep moving. The pattern becomes clearer. When you react, it adjusts. When you hesitate, it waits. When you avoid, it relocates. You reach another intersection. You stop on purpose this time. You don't move. You wait. The hallway remains empty for a few seconds. Then the lights ahead begin to flicker. Not where you are. Further down. You watch it. The flicker holds in place. It doesn't spread. It stays exactly where you were about to go. You turn away before it reaches you. You take a different path. The flickering stops immediately. You continue forward. The hallway stabilizes again. You don't test it further. You don't need to. The environment isn't just reacting. It's anticipating. It places conditions based on what you're about to do, not just what you've done. You keep your pace steady. No hesitation. No adjustment. You stop making choices based on what appears. You move based on what you decide first. The space continues to respond, quietly, consistently, and whatever is controlling it doesn't need to be visible. It only needs you to think about where you're going, because that's enough for it to act first. You keep your pace even, but the space doesn't settle the way it did before. The hallway stays stable, yet it feels temporary, like it's holding position instead of existing naturally. You focus on the cart, on the movement, on anything that doesn't require a decision. The voices return. Not distant this time. Close. Behind you. You recognize the tone immediately. Not the words yet, just the structure. It's clearer than before, more defined, like it doesn't need to stay hidden anymore. You slow down without meaning to. The cart wheels soften against the floor as your movement decreases. The sound behind you sharpens slightly, not louder, just more precise. Then, it says your name. You stop. There's no distortion, no layering, just a single voice, clear enough that it feels like it's coming from a normal distance. You don't turn. You stand there, listening. The silence that follows is heavier than before, not empty, focused. You know the rule. Do not acknowledge anyone who knows your name. You remember reading it. You remember understanding it. But now, standing here, it feels different. It doesn't feel distant anymore. It feels directed. You take a slow breath. Then you speak. You say your name. Not loudly. Just enough to respond. The moment it leaves your mouth, something changes. The sound doesn't travel. It drops, like it was absorbed before it could carry forward. The hallway stays quiet. Nothing answers. But the space shifts. Not visibly. You don't see anything move. You feel it. The distance ahead compresses slightly. The perspective changes, like the space isn't aligned the way it was before. The intersection in front of you bends where it should remain straight. You turn slowly. The corridor behind you is empty. No one there. No movement. No sign that anything was ever close enough to speak. You face forward again. The layout is wrong. The angles don't match what you remember. The hallway curves slightly, then straightens again. The proportions feel inconsistent, like the space hasn't fully adjusted to its current shape. You take a step forward. The cart follows. The hallway ahead shifts, again not moving but presenting differently. The distance changes depending on where you focus. You stop. You look back. The space behind you remains stable, unchanged. You look forward. It isn't. You reach into your pocket and take out the paper. You unfold it quickly, scanning for the fifth rule. Do not acknowledge anyone who knows your name. The wording is the same. It hasn't changed. You read it again. Then fold the paper and put it back. The hallway in front of you doesn't stabilize. It holds its shape, but it doesn't feel fixed. You understand what changed. Not the environment. Your position inside it. You take another step forward. The cart moves with you. The space adjusts slightly, not correcting itself, accommodating something. You don't stop again. You keep walking. There's no point checking behind you. It doesn't matter anymore. Whatever connection you had to the previous layout is gone. Not blocked. Just not relevant. The silence remains. No voices. No movement. But it doesn't feel empty. It feels like something already responded. And now the environment is adjusting to that response. You continue forward. The hallway doesn't resist. It doesn't guide you either. It just shifts enough to keep you moving. And for the first time, the rules don't feel like something you can still follow. They feel like something you already failed. And whatever comes next isn't based on what you do now. It's based on what you already did. You keep moving forward because there's no clear alternative. The space ahead doesn't feel stable, but it's the only direction that still responds to you. The hallway holds its shape just enough to walk through, even if the angles don't fully align. You try to retrace your steps. Not carefully, just directly. You stop, turn around, and begin walking the way you came. The first few steps feel normal. The cart rolls steadily, the lighting stays consistent, the walls don't shift. Then the hallway bends. Not sharply, just enough that it doesn't match your memory. You keep walking. The bend becomes more noticeable. The corridor curves slightly, then straightens again. You don't remember any curve. You stop. You look ahead. It doesn't match. You turn back around. The hallway in front of you has changed too. The intersection you passed isn't there anymore. In its place is a longer stretch of uninterrupted space. You stand still, trying to fix your position. There's nothing to anchor it. No detail that confirms where you are. You move forward again, slower now. Each step feels less certain. The layout doesn't repeat in a way you can trace. It doesn't preserve where you've been. It just adjusts. You pass an opening on your left. You stop and look inside. The space is wider, but the proportions are off. The walls feel closer together than they should. The lighting is slightly dimmer, but not enough to define it as a different area. You don't enter. You keep walking. After a few minutes, you try again. You choose a direction and commit to it. No turns. No hesitation. Just forward movement. The hallway continues. No intersections. No changes. You keep walking. After a while, you notice something ahead. A door. Set into the wall. Flat surface. Simple handle. No markings. It wasn't there before. You slow down. The distance between you and it closes gradually. Everything else remains unchanged. You reach it. You stop. The handle looks normal. You don't hear anything on the other side. You reach out. Your hand hovers just above it. Then the light above you flickers. You freeze. The flicker spreads across the ceiling, moving toward you. You don't touch the handle. You step back instead. Slow. Controlled. The flickering continues for a few seconds. Then stops. You look at the door again. It's still there. You step forward. The handle is still in place. You reach out again. Your hand pauses. You look away for a moment. Then back. The door is gone. The wall is flat again. No outline. No handle. Nothing. You stand there, staring at where it was. There's no trace it existed. You step closer. You run your hand along the surface. Smooth. Unbroken. You step back again. The hallway remains unchanged. You look behind you. The distance feels shorter than it should. You look forward. The space stretches further than it should. You understand it now. The layout doesn't allow return. It doesn't allow exit. It only presents options that don't hold. You grip the cart handle again. The metal feels steady, unchanged. You start moving forward. Not because you expect to find another way, but because standing still doesn't give you one. The hallway continues. The space holds, and whatever you saw back there wasn't an exit. It was something that appeared when you needed one, and disappeared when you tried to use it. You keep moving after that. Not faster, not slower, just steady. The hallway ahead stabilizes again, holding its shape in a way that feels intentional. The angles stop shifting. The distance feels consistent enough to walk without questioning each step. For the first time since you responded, the space doesn't resist you. You slow slightly, observing. The floor shows faint marks again, subtle signs of use, enough to justify stopping. You clean the section carefully. Same method, same pace. When you finish, the floor stays the way you left it. No reset, no adjustment. You move on. A few turns later, you reach a stretch of hallway that feels familiar. Not because you recognize it, because nothing about it stands out. It's neutral in a way that feels deliberate. You stop. You reach into your pocket and take out the paper. You unfold it slowly. Maintenance compliance. You scan the first line. Unchanged. You move to the second. Still the same. You read the third. You pause. The wording is different. Not completely, but enough that it doesn't match what you remember. You read it again. One word has been replaced. The structure remains. The meaning shifts. You move to the fourth rule. Unchanged. The fifth. Still the same. You reach the sixth. You stop. It isn't the one you remember. The position is the same. The formatting is the same, but the sentence is different. You read it once. Then again. You're sure this isn't what was there before. You go back to the top. You read through all 6 again. There are still 6 rules. Nothing added. Nothing removed. Just altered. You lower the paper slightly. The hallway around you hasn't changed. Same walls, same lighting, same empty space. You check the back of the page. Blank. No markings, no indication anything was updated. You turn it over again. The text remains stable. You hold it for a few seconds longer. Nothing shifts while you're looking at it. You try to recall the original wording. You remember the meaning, but not the exact phrasing. That's the problem. You don't know when it changed. You didn't notice it happening. You only know it's different now. You fold the paper slowly. The motion feels heavier than before. Not because of the weight, because of what it implies. The rules aren't fixed. They don't stay consistent, which means following them isn't just about remembering. It's about reacting to something that doesn't tell you when it changes. You put the paper back into your pocket. For a moment, you consider checking it again immediately. Just to confirm, it doesn't shift again while you're holding it. You don't. You let your hand rest at your side instead. Then, you grip the cart handle and start moving. The hallway ahead remains stable, but the sense of it has changed. Before, the rules felt like instructions, something you could rely on even if you didn't understand them. Now they feel temporary, like they apply only as long as they haven't been replaced. You walk a little slower, not because you're unsure where to go, because you're aware that whatever you're following might not stay the same long enough to matter. You reach another intersection. You pause briefly, not to decide where to go, just to observe. Nothing changes. No flickering, no voices, no visible shift. You keep moving. The routine continues. But now, every action feels delayed, like you're responding to something that has already moved ahead of you. And if the rules can change without warning, then knowing them doesn't guarantee anything. It just means you're always one step behind whatever wrote them. You keep moving, not because you've decided to, because there's nothing left that requires a decision. The hallway stays stable now, no shifting, no flickering. The walls hold their shape, the lighting remains constant, and the floor shows the same faint marks you've been cleaning since you arrived. You lower the mop into the bucket and begin. Same motion, same pace, straight lines, even pressure. When you finish, you step back. The floor stays clean. No reset, no change. You move on. The next section looks identical. You clean that one too. Then the next. The routine continues without interruption. At some point, you stop thinking about where you are. There's no difference between one section and another. No indication of progress. Just continuation. The cart rolls forward. The sound of the wheels stays consistent. You pass an intersection and pause. Not to choose a direction, just to confirm the space still holds. It does. You keep going. After a while, you see something ahead. A cart, positioned near the wall. Same model, same arrangement. You slow down. The distance closes. You stop a few steps away. The bucket is filled. The water is darker than yours. The mop rests at the same angle. You look back at your cart. Still there. Unchanged. You look forward again. The second cart hasn't moved. You don't approach it. You don't turn away. You just stand there for a moment. Then you notice something else. Footprints. Faint. Wet. Leading away from the second cart. You follow them with your eyes. They don't go forward. They don't go deeper into the hallway. They come toward you. You don't move. The prints continue until they stop a few feet in front of you. Nothing stands there. No shape. No shadow. Just the marks on the floor. You look down. Your shoes are wet. You don't remember stepping in anything. You don't remember making those prints. You turn slowly and look behind you. The floor there is dry. No trail. No indication that you walked through anything. You look forward again. The second cart is still there. The footprints remain. You don't step closer. You don't step back. You just stand still. Then, slowly, the surface of the water in the second bucket shifts. A faint ripple. Steady. Continuous. You listen. There's a sound now. Soft. Familiar. Wheels. Rolling. You don't turn. You don't need to. The sound matches your pace exactly. Not faster. Not slower. The same. You reach into your pocket and take out the paper. You unfold it. You read the rules. They feel familiar. Not because you remember them, because you've already followed them. Or broken them. You fold the paper and hold it for a moment. Then you put it back. You look at the footprints again. Then at the second cart. Then ahead. The hallway continues. Unchanged. You understand it now. The cart in front of you isn't waiting. It was left. The footprints aren't leading away. They're aligning. You grip the handle of your cart and start moving again. The wheels begin to roll. The sound continues behind you. Perfectly matched. You don't look back. You don't check again. You already know. You're not replacing someone. You already did. And the rules don't change randomly. They change when someone else starts their shift.